The prospect of possessing a perfect memory, unerring, unwavering, unyielding, seems at first an epitome of human achievement. Who wouldn't want to recall every poem they read, every formula they learned, or the touch of a loved one's hand as if it were happening now? This fascinating thought experiment not only touches the sphere of personal nostalgia, but also extends its reach into every cranny of human activity, from the fields of education and healthcare to the intricacies of interpersonal relationships. Yet as we delve deeper, we find that this gift of perpetual memory could equally be a formidable curse. Imagine a world where every word you have ever heard, every action you have ever seen, and every pain you've ever felt could never be forgotten. This concept, while initially seeming to promise an enhanced existence, begs a thorough investigation of its broader implications. In the following exploration, I will blend psychological theories with empirical examples to dissect the multifaceted implications of having a perfect memory on individuals and society.
A perfect memory might sound like a boon at its face. It could potentially translate into unprecedented cognitive capabilities. Imagine scientists who don't forget data, strategists who remember every event, or students who recall every lecture perfectly. The personification of perfect retrieval is captivating and seemingly elevates human capacities to the zenith of intellectual productivity. However, human cognition is not just about storing information, but also about choosing what to focus on. As Daniel Kahneman notes in his exploration of cognitive biases, our current memory systems help us prioritize information, and often forgetting is a cognitive strategy rather than a failure. A persistent memory could lead to cognitive overload, where the mind, inundated by incessant details, struggles to prioritize or process effectively. Herein lies a paradox. Does the perfect memory enhance or encumber our cognitive abilities? The archetype of memory perfection in psychological literature often points to challenges such as difficulty in decision-making and prioritization. Individuals might get lost in the details, unable to discern what is crucial from what is trivial.
In the workspace, the implications of an impeccable memory are manifold. On one hand, it can lead to remarkable improvements in performance due to decreased need for repetitive training and an enhanced ability to integrate complex information quickly. Fields like law and medicine might especially benefit, where voluminous amounts of information are essential for expertise. On the contrary, perfection in memory could also spell a rigid adherence to established patterns, possibly quenching creativity. Innovation often comes from the serendipitous blending of forgotten older ideas with new insights, an intellectual harmony potentially disrupted by a perfect memory. Moreover, interactions in the workplace might become strained, remembering every slight or error made by colleagues, potentially harming team cohesion. In a professional context, the concept equally impacts the ethos of skills development and continuing education. The constant accumulation of knowledge without forgetfulness could reshape career development trajectories and redefine lifelong learning paradigms.
Social interactions thrive on a certain degree of forgetfulness. Forgiveness often follows forgetting. With a perfect memory, every social faux pas, every misunderstanding, and every harsh word could be as fresh years later as on the day they occurred. Would relationships endure if we could recall every disappointment vividly? Moreover, the nuances of social interactions, which often rely on tacit understandings and unspoken forgiveness, might harden into a ledger of grievances and kindnesses too accurately kept. Relationships, both personal and professional, could become unnervingly transactional, fundamentally altering their nature. Memory shapes not only personal narratives, but collective histories. Shared forgetfulness allows societies to move beyond past conflicts, a mechanism that could be obliterated in a world of perfect memory. This could affect societal resilience, altering how communities coalesce after upheavals.
From a psychological standpoint, the burden of carrying every moment into the present could be immense. Psychologists have long recognized the importance of forgetting as a coping mechanism. Constant, vivid recollection of every life event, especially traumatic ones, could exacerbate stress and hinder recovery, leading to increased incidence of PTSD and other mental health disorders. Additionally, with the inability to forget, the cognitive space becomes a territory where past conflicts, embarrassments, and traumas coexist with daily experiences, leading potentially to chronic stress and anxiety. The borders between past and present may blur, trapping individuals in a perpetual cycle of reliving every moment, however painful. The implications for therapy and psychological interventions would be profound. Techniques that rely on rearranging or reinterpreting memories might need a fundamental rethinking, altering the whole landscape of mental health strategies. Culturally, the shift toward perfect memory could have massive implications. Literature, drama, and art often revolve around the themes of memory and forgetfulness. These narratives might lose their potency if the experience of forgetting is alien to the audience. Cultural heritages built around the fallibility of memory could face existential transformations. In regions where oral traditions dominate, the reliability of memory has historically added layers to storytelling, with each rendition varying slightly, enriching the cultural fabric. A perfect memory could standardize these traditions, possibly reducing cultural diversity. Languages too may adapt, growing perhaps more complex, as no detail needs simplifying for the ease of recollection. The imperatives that shape cultural evolution could shift fundamentally, basing less on adaptability and resilience and more on the retention of vast arrays of unaltered information. The extension of perfect memory into the digital realm hints at augmented vulnerabilities. Just as our brains could capture every detail, so could digital devices and systems, enhancing risks of surveillance and personal data exploitation. Issues of consent and data control come into sharper focus when forgetting becomes impossible. The ethical dimensions of memory perfection, particularly in respect to privacy, are complex and fraught with potential for misuse. Implementation of legal frameworks would need to meticulously balance the benefits of perfect recall against the rights to privacy and data security. Law enforcement and judicial systems would face new challenges as well. How to prosecute or defend when every participant in an event remembers it perfectly, possibly in conflicting ways. The reliability of eyewitness testimony, already fraught with psychological biases, could become either an absolute tool or an absolute conflict. Finally, on an economic level, perfect memory could revolutionize industries, creating new markets for memory enhancement products and services, while potentially destroying sectors built on forgetfulness, such as those dealing with data recovery. Education systems could shift focus from rote learning to higher-order thinking skills, as the need for memorization diminishes. Economies could also face shifts in labor markets, as certain roles become obsolete while others that leverage perfect recall and information synthesis proliferate. Considerations around productivity and human capital would likely intersect with ethical and legal concerns, particularly regarding equity and access to memory enhancement technologies. The ripple effects could alter the very infrastructure of economic systems. In conclusion, while the idea of perfect memory tantalizes with its potential, its real-world implications are myriad and complex. As we explore these realms, the intersection of such a profound change with the fundamental aspects of human life and society presents a labyrinth of potential outcomes, both enriching and disruptive. As always, the future likely holds a mix of anticipated effects and surprising unintended consequences.